Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of Tomer Devorah. We are on day 14. Just to recap, day 13 talked about the attributes again of Kesser and the time to use these attributes, and it really gave a great explanation as to Shabbos being a time where the world is perfected. And also, as many of us really already know, that Shabbos is a very auspicious time and that one should utilize all these qualities in order to open heavenly sources of blessing. So it's just one more great thing to learn about Shabbos. Now, day 14, I want to put a little disclaimer out here. Some of these thoughts we're talking about these great works. I want everyone to exercise some common sense. Because today's topic in particular, today's day in particular, many people can misconstrue what's being said here. When we're talking about the aspect of humility and thinking of yourself as being lowly, it's not to put yourself down and that you find nothing good about yourself ever again, has v'shalom. That's not what's being implied in here. There does have to be a level of common sense that each of us has to use when trying to master these attributes. And of course, this is something that we learn during time. This is not something that we just pick up in one shot and we've mastered and we think we know it all. We are ever learning, and as we're learning, we're changing and we're growing. So take today's lesson with that grain of salt in mind. So we are going to begin. Buckle up. The 14th of the month. Therefore, every person must accustom himself with these qualities little by little. The main quality he should grasp, the key to them all, is humility. For it is the highest of them all and the foremost aspect of Kesser, with all the other aspects included in it. Now, the primary aspect of humility is that one should not find himself worthy at all. Rather, he should consider himself like nothing. As Moshe the humble once said, "What are we worth that you should complain against us?" Shemos 16:7. To the extent that he deems himself in his own eyes as the lowliest of all the creatures, exceedingly shameful and loathsome. When a person constantly strives to acquire this quality, all the other qualities of Kesser will be drawn after it. For the primary quality of Kesser is to view itself as nothing before the one from whom it emanates. Likewise, a person should consider himself nothing at all, thinking that his absence would be much better than his existence. Consequently, he will act towards those who despise him as if they are correct and he is the despicable one who is at fault. This will be a means of acquiring all the other good qualities. I have found a remedy whereby a person can accustom himself to these things little by little, possibly curing himself of the disease of haughtiness and allowing himself to enter the gates of humility. This is a balm which is composed of 3 potions. The first, one should accustom himself to fleeing as far as possible from honor. For if he accustoms himself to being honored by other peoples, he will acquire the habit of haughtiness, and by nature he will always desire this. Then only with great difficulty will he be able to be healed. The second, one should accustom his mind to seeing his shameful side, saying to himself, "Although other people don't know of my lack of worth, what of it? I am not aware of myself that I am shameful in such and such way, whether in lack of knowledge or in the weakness of my abilities, or in my loneliness by the way I excrete the food I eat," and so on, until he becomes shameful and despicable in his own eyes. The third, one should constantly contemplate his sins and desire purification, rebuke, and suffering, and ask himself, which type of suffering is the best in this world, which will not distract me from the divine service? Surely there is none better than these, to be scorned, shamed, and cursed. For these will not deprive him of his power and strength through illness, nor will they deprive him of his food and clothing, or deprive him of his life, or the lives of his children through death. Thus a person should actually desire these forms of suffering and say to himself, "Why should I fast and torment myself with sackcloth and lashes, which weaken my power and ability to serve God, and do this to myself with my own hands? It is far better for me to be afflicted with being shamed and scorned by other people, which do not remove my power or weaken me. Thus, when insults are meted out to me, he will rejoice in them, and contrary to typical reaction, he will desire them. From these 3 potions, one should make a balm for his heart, and he should train himself with the approach all his days. And balm here is spelled B-A-L-M. It's like the healing balm. Like I said, this day, this lesson needs to be really thought out and meditated. This is not a permission for you to beat up on yourself, has v'shalom. So let's just all keep that in mind. And I'm pretty sure there are many tough things that the sages will say to us. But this, let's just keep this in mind. Again, I'll recap it again tomorrow. The goal here is to not think so highly of ourselves that the world is revolving around us. And if we have a problem bringing ourselves back to the ground here, these are 3 remedies that he finds kind of does the job quickly. So again, just to keep all that in perspective, and that does conclude day 14 of Tomer Devorah.